everybody, I have the Croptoberfest Project Recipe here that I'm going to show you how to cut and put together today. I thought there was a video already from Creative Memories Home Office about this, and when I tried to create a playlist on my YouTube channel so I could share that with everybody coming to my Croptoberfest event, I couldn't find the video. So if I do find a duplicate, I might add both of them, but this will be in my Croptoberfest playlist, primarily for people who either need some additional instruction if they don't make the project recipe with me at my event, or those who are ordering it and aren't going to be able to attend in person. So you can still walk through this with or without the video and create some really cute layouts. If you need to order the supplies for this project, or if you have any questions, please get in touch with me. Here's my website for ordering and my email if you need to get in touch. My Croptoberfest this year is kind of early, September 15th and 16th, and it will be in Centerville, Utah. You are welcome to come in person. Get in touch with me ASAP if you want to still register. I have a few seats left. Otherwise, feel free to join our crops in Kaysville. We usually do those the last weekend of each month, but get in touch with me before you show up, just in case it's like during the time when I've just had my baby and I'm not going to have a crop for a couple of months. So let's jump into the project recipe. I am not going to put the stickers on my project recipe pages today, just for speed. I'm going to only cut the papers and put them together, but I'm also going to show you a couple ways to save some paper so you have extra to punch out a bunch more cute owls using the owl punch from this Croptoberfest collection. This little guy is so cute. I have punched out probably 30 of them already and put them together. And the combination of colors from the paper in the project recipe and also the accessory pack, plus a lot of others that you could get, are all really good for the owls. I just wanted to show you a few of those. We're not going to put any of them on these layouts right now, but I'll post some other videos and show you how we make these and then how we are going to use some of them. But for the project recipe, all we need is a 12-inch trimmer and a tape runner or another adhesive. Everything else you are going to use for the project recipe is included in the kit. So there is a cutting guide on one page and then a double-sided page that shows how to lay out the pieces to do two separate page layouts. The project recipe kit comes with a sheet of stickers, and you can see in the examples how they recommend to use those stickers. You use a little more than half of the stickers in the project recipe between all 4 pages. And then you'll have a few left over where if you've got the project booklet as well, you can use your remaining stickers to finish and decorate some of those pages. Or you can keep your stickers and use them for another project. So the cutting guide shows us which papers we're going to cut. In your pack, you've got 2 of each designer paper, and each one is double-sided. So there's 2 with the trees and the one little owl. And the back side of that is kind of an owl and leaf print in navy blue. We're going to set one of these papers aside, and then one we're going to save to cut. We have a sheet of white cardstock that we're going to use for one of the layouts, and that's going to get cut. And then we have a sheet of this owl and pine tree paper that is going to get cut as well. And the back side of that is this kind of monochromatic beigey cream color with a leaf print. We'll set that aside. There are 2 sheets that have stripes on the one side and the brown plaid on the other side, and those are both getting set aside. So the 4 we just set aside are for backgrounds. The last sheet we will cut is the navy cardstock, which is going to get cut up as all photo mats. Let's just start there with designer paper number 1. And they have given us a nice little note that we want to cut the horizontal line for piece E first, because all the rest of the pieces we cut go in the other direction and are going to be the same height. So piece E from the bottom of this paper is 1.5 inches wide. Scoot that over so it's not resting up against something else. set that piece aside. This is letter E. If you are not really familiar with project recipes already, if you haven't already done tons and tons of them, I would recommend that you use some sticky notes and just put a sticky on that says this is piece E, and then label each one with your ABCs so you don't get confused later about what's what. So our other pieces for piece A and B, they are going to be cut from a skinny strip that's 1/2 inch wide. There's my 1/2 inch line. Set that aside. Oh, I did not cut all the way through that one. Let's try that again. There we go. And then the rest of this page is basically going to get cut in half at 5 inches and 3/4. 5 3/4 inches. You basically cut just to the side of this little owl, if you can see him on the print. And then you should have 2 pieces that are the same size here, and then your other strips here. And this one will get cut in half. So it is now going to be 5 1/4 inch. And we've got 2 little skinny strips that we'll use for some banners on a couple pages. Our next page we're cutting is the white cardstock, and we're doing a similar thing that we did here, cutting that into 2 pieces that are 5 1/2 inches by 10 1/2 inches. So I'm going to cut that 10 1/2 inch dimension first. And I've got now a strip of white cardstock that's extra. I'll set that off to the side. We are not going to use that in these layouts. We're going to cut, 5 1/2 inches, which is the end of the trimmer without the arm extended. And another piece that's the same size, 5 1/2 inches. And then this strip is extra and will not be used as well. So there are a few scraps already that you could start punching out owl pieces from if you wanted to. The rest of these sheets are all used up entirely on the project recipes, but I will show you some places you can save some paper. So for the owl and pine tree print, we want it to go up and down, our pieces to be tall. And we're going to cut these also 5 1/2 inches tall. So right to the end of the border maker, or the trimmer. And then we have 1 piece left that's 1 inch wide. So that's all of our pieces from the owl scene paper. And the navy cardstock, we're cutting into photo mats. They're all 6 by 4. We're cutting 6 of them. We use this whole sheet. And if you want to stack that because you're going to cut the same size, you can reduce the number of times you have to run your blade through. So 4 by 6s, 4 by 6s again, and then our remaining pieces will be another set of 4 by 6s. So we've got a stack of photo mats, which will be great for photos that are just a little bit smaller than a 4 by 6, so like a 3 3/4 by 5 3/4. And that's all the cutting from this guide. I am going to leave my trimmer out because we're going to do a little bit more cutting, but if you just follow the project recipe exactly, that's all the cutting you need to do. And you have all the pieces you need to put together a total of 4 pages or 2 2-page layouts. We'll start on spread number 1, which has the brown plaid background. And as you can see, we're going to cover up the majority of the brown plaid. So we've got some pieces of the white cardstock, some pieces of the tree print that we just cut out, and those are going to overlap the majority of this background. These pieces are, I think they were 10 1/2 inches tall. Let's double check. Yeah, 10 1/2 inches tall. for both the white cardstock and the tree print, which means you've got about 3/4 of an inch on the top and bottom, and you're gonna have about that same amount on each side. And I am just gonna recommend you can gut the back of that where it's all gonna be covered up. So I'm gonna show you how to do that. And then you'll have a ton of this brown paper to punch out a bunch of owl pieces. And on the back side, your cute stripes. So you can either use that for another layout or other project, or like I said, just save it for some owls. I'm going to gut at 1 inch. That'll give us a little bit of space on all the sides. If 1 inch seems too cozy for you, if that's making you feel uncomfortable, you could bring your gutting in a little bit smaller, maybe go to 1.5 inches, and then you've got a little more room to attach your other pieces to your paper. But 1 inch is also approximately the distance from the middle of the blade to the edge of the housing. So that's a good way to see where your paper is lining up and how far you should cut. I feel like mine cuts just a little bit farther than that. I don't know if everybody feels like that or if it's just me. But I'm going to basically now have a frame as the background that we're going to attach the other papers to. And I'll do the same thing for the paper on the other side. So now I've got quite a big square that's about 10 inches by 10 inches or smaller if you're doing your gutting further into the paper. So that's a good amount of paper to use for lots of other projects. And I'm realizing I could have saved a little bit of time by gutting these together and just stacking up my two papers since I was doing it the same. I just didn't think about it until I started on the second page. But not a big deal. So this plaid background doesn't really have a specific direction to it. If you wanted to do some additional gutting, the pieces I would recommend gutting are your photo mats. And I am going to do that probably on all of the photo mats, since the idea is for them to be covered by photos. Or if you got a little more creative, you can also cut out some of this white if you'd like to save some of that, or the background where your photo mats are going to sit behind that. I'm not going to cut those pieces just because it'll make it a little harder to put together. But I am going to now line up my two backgrounds. And scoot those other pieces out of the way that we're not using on these ones. And just make sure I'm kind of looking similar from one page to the next. So when I say that, what I mean is it does have a pattern that's noticeable on the plaid, and I don't want the plaids to be mismatched if they're sitting next to each other. So this is how I feel like for my papers, they lay out the most equal on each side. And what we're gonna do, since we've gutted, is just put some adhesive around the edges where it's going to attach to the brown paper. And in the project recipe layout, you can see the white paper goes all the way into the center, and then the kind of blue-gray owl and tree print goes right next to that. So we'll have a little more room to adhere on this part in the center, and then we can overlap those two even a little bit over here if we wanted to in the middle. Or just put them right next to each other. If you do put them right next to each other and you've gutted your paper, I recommend putting a little bit of a welding piece on the back so those don't flop around. And, oh, even though I just said around the edges, I still just autopilot put some right in the center where we're not gonna have some paper to attach. So if you got one of those great pickup squares that's a Croptoberfest gift, or if you have a repositionable adhesive that you're using for this, that can help you take off extra. If you make a little mistake like I just did there. I was able to just peel that off. I could also do that with my multi-purpose tool. Just line it up top to bottom centered and right in the middle up against the edge of the paper for this one. Looks like I have it down actually a little farther on the top, but I'm okay with that. And I'm going to just line the next white paper up on this side in the same spot. And since I'm using the regular tape, I can easily see my extra pieces that have hung over the side and either fold those back or pull them off. Just put the adhesive on the one long side this time. It's going to have some paper behind it. Get these guys matched up. This one's not quite straight up here at the top, so just straighten that out a little bit. Okay, so our two white pieces in the center are adhered, and we're going to do basically the same thing with our owl tree pieces and just adhere to that outside edge. And if you don't like the idea of gutting your paper, if you want it to be a little more stable, or if you want to use the back side of the paper for an additional layout, if you're going to go directly like one page to the next, if you're using the pocket pages or something else like that, you do not have to do this. You may want to purchase an additional project recipe kit so you have more of these papers if you want to make a bunch of owls or do some other projects with these papers. Or also the accessory paper pack is something you can get from an advisor or as part of the customer bundle. So those give you some other options that will match the same colors and have some similar patterns, but also have some different, like very cute owl prints in that accessory pack that are not included in the original project recipe papers. So if you're seeing some Croptoberfest ideas out there and don't see the papers that match in your project recipe kit, that might be why. The accessory paper pack is separate. And you can purchase the project recipe by itself, but as a customer, you cannot purchase the accessory pack by itself. You would have to ask your advisor to get that for you. Some advisors may be including that as a gift or a prize as part of their Croptoberfest event. Or you can buy the full customer bundle that does include that. So you can see where I'm got this seam in the middle where the papers match up. I would put my pages onto the Creative Memories pages because that's how I typically scrapbook. So the stability is not going to be an issue here, but if you want to use this without that, you may want to put a welding piece, which is just a scrap that you adhere over a seam to keep some papers better together. Okay, let's do the gutting on our photo mats. And since I'm gonna do some for this page, but we've got some photo mats also for this other page, I'm just gonna gut them all right now. And I'm gonna gut these ones at a 1/2 inch. So they will be basically little frames, but my photos will sit in front of them, so you won't be able to tell once the pictures are on here that they have been gutted behind the photos. And then I would just, because the owl punch is so cute, and I mentioned this already, I would just save these scraps to punch out more owl pieces. And you can use owls as decorations on these pages or on other pages and borders and things that you might make as part of Croptoberfest. The punch is so cute. It's going to be great for other colors too. Obviously, since it's coming out with this collection, I feel like we're seeing a lot of ideas using this collection and that punch right now, but how cute would like a baby pink owl be? That's what I keep thinking of, is we're having a baby this fall. And I'm thinking about what kind of theme to use for my baby's book when I make a scrapbook for her. And those owls are just so darn cute. I might go that way. All right, I'll pause you for a second, finish gutting these ones, and I'll come back to finish this layout. Okay, I have finished the photo mat gutting process, and now we're ready to just put the rest of these pieces together. On this layout, it just has 2 photo mats, 2 spots for big photos up and down right here, and then spots for more photos. The size recommendation is 5 inch by 3 inch on these horizontal ones, and 3.5 by 5.5 on the vertical ones. If you wanted to do yours differently, you certainly could. And I do have a fair number of people who prefer to wait to cut their photo mats until after they know what pictures they're going to use. So if that's you, you do not have to cut up that navy blue sheet in advance. Maybe you want to save it and cut it into more or smaller or bigger photo mats, just depending on what pictures you're actually going to use. I like to do most of the project recipes with the photo mats. And then even if I don't have pictures exactly that size, there's still usually a pretty good way to lay out my pictures with that. And sometimes I just add an extra photo mat or something like that. And once you get these pieces down, that's it for these 2 pages. So those are done as far as the paper. And you can see that once the photos go on here and some extra embellishments, some areas for maybe a title or some journaling, it looks a lot more decorative. The papers by itself are really cute, but kind of muted, not busy and crazy and in your face. And so this gives you an opportunity to let your photos really take center stage. So that's the first set of 2 pages. We're going to put together the second set of 2 pages. And this one has the other background sheets that we set aside. One that is the navy blue owl print, and one that is actually going to be this side, the beige, or oatmeal is probably the color we're calling that, leaf print. And there are also some ways to, we're not going to gut these pages because it doesn't get all covered up like the other one did, but we are going to do quite a bit of layering on this. So you can see, here's how our pieces are going to lay out. We've got strip J, then H, that's about a 1/2 sheet. We've got I, that's the matching piece with this, and E, that's the blue owl print. So about half of each of our background pages will be covered up. So I'm going to cut those about in half, and then we will just layer a little bit to make it a full 12-inch page. We've got a few other things up here, some photo mats and some little strips to do some journaling or spots for embellishments. So the total width over here of the pieces we're going to overlap will be, I believe, 6.5. Yep, 6.5 on this side. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a trim right in half. And I've got my little flag here that marks where the 6-inch spot is. So half of this page. And we're going to do a little bit of layering to attach those all together. Or you don't even need to focus so much on the layering if you're going directly onto a Creative Memories page or another sheet of cardstock. But now we've got half a sheet of that blue owl print saved that we can use for something else. And on this side, it's a tiny bit wider, but I think I'm just going to do the same cut. So this piece is 1.5 inches, and then add this one on. We've actually got 7 inches over here. So a little bit more. But just because it's easy, I'm going to do the same thing here and trim this page in half. So we've now got quite a bit of leftovers. If you have cut these extra pieces out like we've done, and all of these could become owls or pieces for other pages or borders or something else, and then some scraps from the white cardstock we cut, and our stickers that you can add to your pages later. But let's go ahead and put these together. And when I'm piecing together something like this, if I don't already have a background, I like to just use a different piece of 12-inch paper and make sure that when I'm lining my pieces up, they are going to be fully 12 inches across and not weirdly large or small. So I'll do a little bit, I don't know if you can see this, but a little bit of overlapping where we've got about 1/2 inch of overlap between each one. And maybe do a little bit extra on this and make it more like a 1/4 inch to overlap here. I'm just putting kind of a good amount of tape runner along that seam. Make sure the bottom of my paper is straight, and then check to make sure the top of my paper is also straight. Just squaring it up with this other 12-inch piece underneath it as my guide. But again, you could do this directly onto a Creative Memories page, and then that is your guide for you. You don't have to have an extra helper piece. And doing the same thing right here to attach my owls. I got a little bit of extra tape here, and then one other spot. Oh, right here. And just matching that up with the corners of my other 12-inch sheet below. And make sure both the top and bottom are lining up straight. And at the right width. Actually, it looks like I've got this one tilted out a little bit, so I'll fix that. Okay, so here's my 12-inch background with the different pieces to match this right side. And we're going to do the same thing essentially on the left side of the page, where we've got the dark blue toward the center. Our owl print kind of in the middle. And then the beige oatmeal leaf print on the left side. So it's these same papers repeated. If you wanted to, you could actually even save, I think, a full sheet of this dark blue owl print in the way that you're cutting this piece and then the large piece that goes on the next one. I might have to double check myself on the measurements for that, but I feel like that works with the pieces that you need here. Get that good and straight at the bottom. Keep tilting it a little bit. And do the same thing on our last outside piece here. Whoa. I just pulled off a big section of tape. I did that for some reason. So I'll spread that out because I did not need that much right in one spot. So these pages are among the faster ones that I can remember from Croptoberfest Project Recipe Kits. I imagine there are some others that have been pretty quick and easy as well, but I feel like last year's kit was a little more complicated than this. It was very cute and different than this one, of course, but it required a little more cutting, a little more hand trimming of some pieces. And this one, pretty quick and easy. So we're gonna have one photo mat over here, two on this side at the bottom, and then one going across. And we've got some more spots here for photos, or you can fit photos in other places as well. And then these little banners, I haven't notched out the ends yet, but one is gonna come over here, and one is gonna come over here, and I'm gonna swap those pieces because I think this one will be better on this side. You can maybe see we've got kind of the tree trunks, the bases of them here, and this is more like branches, so I feel like that piece worked better by itself over here. I don't know if you've looked real closely at the example pages from this project recipes. They're really cute. I'm like wondering, where on earth do you go to get some pictures with your little kids and an owl? I guess maybe you could go to a zoo or a bird preserve or something. But I thought that was really cute. I certainly don't have any pictures with owls. I think the owls are a really cute theme, but it's not something I have in my photos. I think the closest I have in my own photos is like when the boys around here earn their Eagle Scout in Boy Scouts. A lot of times they'll bring in an eagle for a court of honor or something like that. Maybe I've seen, I mean, I guess I do, okay, I just remembered. I do have an owl picture or two because we live in not a rural area exactly, we live in the suburbs, but a lot of our neighbors have large properties and animals, horses and cows and sheep and things. And we actually do have some barn owls who live in and around our neighborhood. So it's not like the woods or anything, but we do have owls here occasionally. And I know my husband took some owl pictures when one was perched on our roof a couple months ago. We don't see that all the time. But now that I'm thinking about owl pictures, I realize there is at least one owl picture in the recent past for us. And I'm just moving this page to the opposite side so I can make sure I've got it pretty well lined up. Like on this one, you could definitely do your photo placement and your mats in different spots. You can see on some of these mats I mangled the corners a little bit, but that's not going to matter for the background. Those are going to get covered up, and it's not going to matter for my extra pieces that are going to be punched out as owls. All right, I'm just going to do some quick notching here, and I think you might have seen this trick before, but if I'm making a little banner flag, I like to use this 45-degree angle. This piece is a little small for this, but we'll make it work. And then I just line up a corner of my paper, the flat edge against the 45 degrees and the corner right on the line where the cutting happens, and then trim in both directions until I've got a little triangle banner going on. I'll do the same thing on this side. You could do this with scissors. It would probably actually be easier with scissors with these little pieces. Or you can also use a square punch or another punch that has a square corner and just snip that square out of the center of your banner. Okay, so we've got our two banners. I'm going to attach those right by the photo mats. And then you have some ideas here in the example layout of how to maybe decorate with some stickers. All the decorations in the project recipe that are shown in the examples do come from the sticker pack that's in the project recipe kit. And like I mentioned before, you can do all the stickers that are on the project recipe examples and also still have extras to use in your project booklet ideas if you are doing those as well. Or you can use those for something else. But that's our 2 pages for spread number 2. So we just made 4 pages total and did not take that long. I think these are really cute. I just love the colors and the owl prints. And I'd love to know what you're planning to do with these layouts, what kind of photos you have in mind. Do you have some owl pictures? Do you have some aspirations for owl pictures? Maybe an owl photo shoot? This is my inspiration for an owl photo shoot. If you need the project recipe kit, that is available for advisors and customers on the Creative Memories website. There is also a customer bundle that includes some additional things, or advisors can get some of the individual pieces like the additional accessory paper pack. And if you don't have an advisor, I'm happy to be yours. Get in touch with me if you need to find somebody to help you get project recipe instructions, or if you have any questions about tools and things. I'd love to hear from you.